It was around 2 a.m., April 1912. The freezing winds of the North Atlantic cut through the massive ship, but something felt wrong. At the far end of the deck, a man stood still, constantly looking over his shoulder as if someone was watching him. His name was Thomas Reed, a telegraph operator, and in his hand was a letter that was never meant to reach anyone. At first, Thomas thought it was just his imagination, but when he saw the shadow again, his chest tightened. "Who's there?" he called out. No answer, only the distant sound of waves. He kept walking. He needed to get back to his cabin, because that letter contained proof of something terrifying. 2 days earlier, Thomas had been working in the telegraph room when a strange message came in. It was coded, urgent. When he decoded it, his eyes widened. Iceberg ahead, immediate course change required. But the strange part, that warning was never delivered to the captain. Someone had deliberately held it back. When Thomas tried to bring it up, his colleague simply said, "Don't worry about it. The higher-ups know what they're doing." But Thomas couldn't ignore it. Why would anyone hide such a critical warning? So he secretly wrote everything down in a letter. He documented the message, how it was blocked, and who might have been involved. As the night grew deeper, the ship continued forward at full speed. But Thomas had a feeling something was terribly wrong. Then, suddenly, impact. The ship trembled violently. People began screaming. Panic spread across the decks. Thomas knew it. The thing he feared most had just happened. The ship had struck an iceberg. Chaos was everywhere. People running, lifeboats being lowered. Thomas rushed back to his cabin. He grabbed the letter. This letter was the truth, proof that this disaster could have been prevented. Then a knock on the door. Thomas opened the door. The voice was cold, unfamiliar. A chill ran down his spine. He realized someone didn't want the truth to come out. He moved quickly toward the window. Outside, freezing black water, endless darkness. He had two choices: hide the letter or let everything be lost forever. Thomas made his decision. He placed the letter inside a glass bottle, sealed it tightly, and threw it into the ocean. The bottle disappeared into the dark waves. At that exact moment, the door burst open. 2 men stepped in. "Where is the letter?" they demanded. Thomas said nothing. One of them grabbed his collar. "You have no idea what you've done." Thomas looked straight at him and said, "I saved the truth." Moments later, the ship began to sink beneath the icy waters. Screams faded into silence. Darkness swallowed everything. Thomas Reed vanished that night, becoming just another forgotten name in history. But the story doesn't end there. In 1998, a fisherman in the North Atlantic pulled up an old glass bottle in his net. Inside was a letter. When he opened it, his hands began to shake, because what he read was a truth buried for 86 years. Historians later examined the letter, and some details matched real records. Warnings had indeed been ignored. But one question still remains unanswered. Who were the men trying to silence him, and why? Even today, when people talk about that night, most remember it as a tragic accident, but some believe it was something more, a truth buried beneath the ocean.